No way he said this. We are talking about some major Rams updates, including an injury report update for some key players on the Rams. We are also talking about what a defensive player on the Indianapolis Colts had to say about SoFi Stadium. And you guys, the Rams fans in Los Angeles, all on today's episode of the Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua Hidon. Remember, if you guys are not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor, press that subscribe button now, as roughly 61.4% of you guys are watching the videos, but you're still not pressing that subscribe button. All I'm saying is if you're already watching, might as well press that subscribe button so you don't miss any daily Rams content here at the Rams Digest. First things first, let's get into the major story here as we're talking about the Rams versus Colts injury report, as 5 players are limited for Los Angeles. 2 starters did not practice a couple of times this week. So Davante Adams, Rob Havenstein missed practice with soreness, while 5 other Rams were limited to start the week. This comes to us from Cameron DeSilva of the Rams Wire. And ultimately, we talk about this, right? The Rams, they have hopes to win a Super Bowl. They got to stay healthy. And so early in this season, obviously, just being into week 4 now, the season really has just gotten started. So not too concerned about hearing about a couple injuries here and there, but the Rams still got to win some games, right? You want to make sure everyone is healthy out there. I, for one, have Davante Adams on my fantasy team, so I definitely want him extra to be healthy this week against a pretty solid Indianapolis Colts team. They're 3-0. They're undefeated. They have not lost this year, and so you do got to kind of be careful. I know in recent years we've heard the Colts name. We haven't really been too concerned about what the Indianapolis Colts are bringing to the table, but Daniel Jones seems to have found his home in Indianapolis, and so a lot to discuss in this matchup. Some people are calling it the sleeper matchup of the week. Rams versus Colts injury report. Rob Havenstein, he did not practice on Wednesday. For some reason, we're not having the updated participation here. I should have got more updated one here, but I believe both players, Rob Havenstein and Davante Adams, the 2 starters for the Rams, were actually limited a little bit in practice on Friday. So hopefully that both can play. Maybe Rob Havenstein a little more questionable than Davante Adams. I believe that is the case here, but it looks like limited from Steve Avila. Could see him back here on the roster this week. Limited from a couple of these other guys here. Maybe Colby Parkinson will be ready to go. Braden Fisk ready to go. So overall, pretty positive injury report for the Rams versus the Indianapolis Colts. And then they have a lot of do not practices there on the side for the Indianapolis Colts side of things, especially on defense with guys like Xavier Howard and Kenny Moore, Alec Pierce, a big player for the offense there. Their special teams punter did not practice, but looks like sort of personal matter here, not injured at all. Xavier Howard as well, not injured. I don't know if he's going to play much, but overall, it looks like both teams are going to be solidly healthy. Of course, I know, if you're a Colts fan, you're probably like, well, it's a lot of injuries for us, but I think it's been updated since Thursday and Friday. Sorry I didn't get the updated photo here, but the point of the matter is that a lot of these players look like they're going to be ready to go. The Rams look ready to go and healthy as they can be right now early in this season, and so good news for sure. Again, you're going to be dealing with those kind of bruises here and there. Overall, the Rams seem to be in a pretty good spot when it comes down to their injury report, so we're excited to see this team borderline full force playing against a team that you kind of on the, first look of the season schedule, right? Everyone's probably saying, yeah, the Colts, that's a win easy. But now the Colts 3-0, they're undefeated. They got a lot going on in Indianapolis to be happy and positive about. People are saying, hey, just take us to a winning record. You might even be playing for a playoff spot out there in Indy. So definitely intriguing to see what Daniel Jones has done and changed for this franchise in the last couple of months at this point, couple of weeks, right? Really, the hope has kind of shifted after 3 consistent weeks of him playing pretty well. But when it comes down to the Rams and how they're going to play and hold up against this team, the biggest thing for the Rams, I think, going into this weekend is their health, of course. Now we talk about that, but now that they're relatively healthy, it's really scoring on offense and getting to the quarterback. Daniel Jones has a solid offensive line. We saw what they can do versus the Philadelphia offensive line. Not at full strength, but a pretty good Philadelphia offensive line. The Rams were still disruptive, getting to the quarterback, getting to Jalen Hurts, and it really did help them really look dominant in that game most of the game. They didn't finish that game, of course, but either way, if you can get to Daniel Jones like that, he hasn't really been gotten to this year by a defense like the Rams. So I think that's kind of the big key here. Sacking Daniel Jones, making him uncomfortable in the pocket, making him move out of the pocket. And when he does, don't forget, he's solidly mobile himself. Don't let him run all over you. Those are key pieces, I think, for the Rams. Can they slow down the run? Can they slow down Jonathan Taylor? Those things will be major factors in this game this week. And we can even talk about now, right, when we're talking about potentially, kind of what this final score would look like. Again, nothing really to be solidified here, but just kind of want to give some game preview picks. So these are people from the NFL on their YouTube channel when they post the game previews for the the Colts versus the Rams. They have all of their experts kind of give a little bit of a prediction, a preview of, and their picks of what they think is going to happen this week. Here are a lot of the majority of the picks picking the Rams, right? Winning in a fairly close game for most scores. Overall, I think the Rams could probably beat the Colts, and if they do, they should feel pretty good about themselves, beating a team that, yes, of course, it's the Colts. Again, you're not really too worried about them typically, but they are a good team right now. They're 3-0 right now. This would be an important win for the Rams. You don't want to fall to 2-2 when you feel like you should be sitting at 4-0, right? And so that's definitely how the Rams probably are feeling. Hopefully they can take advantage and win this football game. My guess is it's going to be a close game. I think the Rams are going to disrupt this Colts offense more than they've seen this year. It's just too much pass rush, too much slowing down the run that's going to beat up on Daniel Jones in this offense. I think the Rams should be able to handle the Colts. I'll say 27-20 would be your final score here. That is my final score prediction. Let me know what you guys feel about it in the comment section down below. What is your score prediction for this Sunday's afternoon matchup versus the Indianapolis Colts? Moving on from that, though, I do want to kind of talk about this story because it's interesting. It's a very interesting story, and I don't even have it pulled up. Here is the Colts defensive back accuses the Rams of playing fake crowd noise and says it's not true fans. He says it's fake. It's not true fans. So, or it's not like true fans. So here, what are we talking about here? Well, we're talking about the Rams. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place here. Talking about the Colts defensive back, Cam Bynum. If you don't know who Cam Bynum is, he's that guy who makes very viral dances on defense, especially when he was in Minnesota. He was dancing, doing a bunch of celebrations when the defense would make a big play. So he's now in Indianapolis, still doing the same thing. So if you do see Cam Bynum come up with an interception or something like that this week, hopefully it doesn't happen, you're going to see some type of crazy celebration from the Indianapolis Colts and Cam Bynum being the center of that for sure. But when we're talking about this story in particular, what are we talking about? Apparently, Cam Bynum came out and said that there's fake noise. It doesn't sound like it's real. He's basically accusing the Rams of faking their fan noise because ultimately basically in his words, the crowd doesn't look too hyped when he looks over. And so here is what he had to say. He says, "I don't like the stadium. I didn't like their turf. It's the short turf because they have to scrub it down every week to change from the Chargers to the Rams logo. It's slippery. It's almost as bad as ours." Colts defensive back Cam Bynum. Now, this is just him talking about the field first, talking about SoFi Stadium first. Hasn't mentioned anything about the fans. We'll continue the quote in a second, but interesting to hear from him. First of all, as he says, it's almost as bad as ours, essentially saying that he actually doesn't even like the Colts turf either, and actually he likes the Colts turf less than he likes the Rams turf. So kind of interesting to hear him say that. But he continues his quote. He keeps on going, and he says this here. He says they play fake crowd noise because their crowd isn't that turnt. The Rams, they have a good fan base, but they've moved around so much where it's not like true fans. It's more like a celebrity show in there. It's like, all right, I know this is fake because on third downs, you see the crowd is sitting down, but somehow there's noise coming from somewhere. So we're just looking around last year like, hold on, that noise is coming from the speakers because this crowd, nobody's turned up right now. So essentially, Cam Bynum, to summarize all of it, is saying that the Rams must play fake crowd noise because when he looks around, there's too many fans sitting down for it to be as loud as it is. Kind of interesting. I feel like it's kind of contradictory to say that. He's essentially like, no, I can't even believe how loud it is in here because the fans don't even look that excited. When I think the reality is, if you guys have not been to SoFi, the SoFi Stadium is kind of built downward, so it's like in the basement almost of what this building is in SoFi Stadium. And so when you walk in on the floor level, you're actually on like the third, I don't know, it wouldn't be the third level specifically, but the 300s level when you walk in. So you're looking down at the field immediately when you're walking in from the street level. And so it is kind of built down into like a basement type of place. So because of that, I think that the noise kind of just goes downward and inward, right? And so so that's kind of why I think it gets pretty loud in there. I've been to many Rams games and SoFi games in the last couple of years, and honestly, the crowd does get pretty loud. You're surprised how loud it is because, yeah, he's right. There are sometimes fans sitting down, not really wanting to get up and cheer, but it's still so loud in there, and it's not a speaker, in my opinion. I don't even think it sounds close to what a speaker audience would sound like. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it could be, proven someday that it's actually not the real crowd noise, but I've seen a lot of Rams fans at a lot of Rams games go get up and get crazy, and you can't even see from the field. You really couldn't see the 500 section and how crazy those fans are getting. Those are the seats all the way up top. Those fans get wild and excited, and overall I think it just is a really interesting building to be in, and I think that's why it's so loud, because of the shape and everything the way it is. And so that's kind of where I see it. You guys let me know how you feel about it. I know it's a sensitive topic when we're talking about the reality of Rams fans in Los Angeles. Look, let's be real about this situation, right? The Rams aren't the necessarily most popular team in Los Angeles at this point in time. And I'm talking about football team, right? Even if you're talking about all sports, the Lakers, the Dodgers, right? Those are teams that are just a little bit more popular in Los Angeles than the Rams themselves. But ultimately, this fan base is building, it's growing, and I think over time it's only going to continue to grow. And so that is the patient part that people need to be patient with. There are people in St. Louis, I'm sure some of you guys watching this video are in St. Louis, know people in St. Louis who stopped being Rams fans because the team left to Los Angeles. And so that is kind of a thing the franchise had to grow and battle through. And so they just won a Super Bowl a couple years ago. I think 10 years from that Super Bowl would kind of be a good mark of to see how many fans are actually buying tickets in the game, because those kids are going to be 10 years old when the Super Bowl became Rams fans. They're going to be 20 in a few years, and they'll be the ones going in and filling the stadium. So give it some time in terms of the fan base, but ultimately I think the fans are already there. They're already showing up, right? Maybe the opponent will show up as well, and especially for a San Fran 49ers game, right? That stadium could be filled with a lot of red for sure in the seats, unfortunately. But I think there are a lot of Rams fans who are going crazy and rooting hard for their team out there at SoFi. So I'm disliking what Cam Bynum had to say. If you need another reason to hate on the Colts this weekend, of course you want the Rams to win. But hey, let's look at Cam Bynum. Let's see if Matthew Stafford can pick on Cam Bynum a little bit as a defensive back out there. He's a safety, but let's see if we can kind of make him look silly out there throughout this weekend. That's something extra to root for in this Rams versus Colts game. Let me know what you guys feel about his comments down below in the comment section. And then moving on from that, last but not least, trivia of the day. For those who missed last episode's trivia of the day, my question I asked everybody was, who was the first running back to finish a season with over 2,100 rushing yards? The multiple choice options for this trivia of the day was A, O.J. Simpson, B, Jamal Lewis, C, Adrian Peterson, or D, Eric Dickerson. Multiple people play along with the trivia of the day at home. Here were your trivia guesses. We had a couple people, so we'll go through them all here. We had Benny saying O.J. Simpson. We had Floyd saying, I hate that I've been missing the trivia, but I've been doing a lot of traveling back and forth lately, and I'm not able to keep up with my Rams Digest as I would like. Appreciate you, Floyd, for trying. You've been really consistent all year long, so I really appreciate you either way. I appreciate you saying that you hate that you've been missing it, though. It really makes me feel good, because I'm like, dang, I don't even see my usuals in the chat, right? Usually, Floyd, you're always here, so even when you don't comment, that's when I know things are getting busy out there, but no worries, it's all good. I think I participated in 2 of the last 4, but as far as the trivia today goes, I think it was O.J. Simpson. I know Eric Dickerson broke his record, but I think it was actually O.J. Simpson who hit 2,100 mark first, only to be surpassed later by Eric Dickerson. So it's a really long answer, but O.J. Simpson is my final answer, LOL. Appreciate you, Floyd, for the long answer. No worries, it's all good. Hammer says our own Eric Dickerson. Raymond's is number 29. Eric Dickerson. And Dennis says Eric Dickerson, question mark. We had some more of you guys play along with the trivia. Here were some more guesses here. We had Addison saying Eric Dickerson. We had Floyd saying O.J. Simpson. TJ Gregory saying O.J. Simpson. Did I see Floyd? We had F. Para saying O.J. Simpson. We had TJ saying O.J. Simpson. Melton saying O.J. And then Raymond saying number 29, Eric Dickerson. So a few of you guys play along. A few of you guys gave some different shout outs. We had Eric Dickerson, we had O.J. Simpson, Eric Dickerson, O.J. Simpson. So a lot of you guys kind of going back and forth on O.J. Simpson or Eric Dickerson. The correct answer for the trivia of the day of who was the first running back to finish the season over 2,100 rushing yards, the correct answer was D, Eric Dickerson. 2,105 rushing yards in 1984. Yes, he was the first. I'm not sure O.J. Simpson ever did it. I'm going to Google that right now. We'll double check it here. Yeah, I double checked it right now. The correct answer was Eric Dickerson. He was the first to do it. I'm not sure O.J. Simpson ever went above it. So that is the correct answer. So shout out to all of you guys who did get it correctly. Let's kind of double check and see here. We had Floyd to OJ. So we had a Hammer saying Eric Dickerson. We had Raymond saying number 29. Dennis saying Eric Dickerson, question mark. We had Addison saying Eric Dickerson. We had Raymond saying Eric Dickerson. So those, Eric Dickerson, Raymond actually guessed twice. So those were the correct answers for the trivia of the day. Shout out to everybody who got it correct. Shout out to everybody who played along regardless, but also a special shout out to the ones who got it correct. Appreciate all of you guys for playing along with the trivia of the day. For those who missed that episode of the trivia of the day and you're like, hey, that was easy, I want to shout out just like those folks. Play along with today's episode of trivia of the day, which is this question here. Who was the first kicker to be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Multiple choice options are A, Justin Tucker, B, Morton Anderson, C, Mark Mosley, or D, Gary Anderson. Give your guesses down below in the comment section. Whether right, whether wrong, we give you a shout out on the next episode that I'm on here at the Rams Digest. Who is the only NFL player to be named league MVP as a kicker? Was it A, Justin Tucker, B, Morton Anderson, C, Mark Mosley, or D, Gary Anderson? Give your guesses down below in the comment section, and we'll get you on the next episode. Sorry for the craziness, long episode, because I'm kind of moving around, figuring out the new setup and stuff. So apologies for some of the sloppiness here. We'll clean it up. We'll make sure everything's good to go next episode. If you guys are not subscribed to the channel, please make sure you subscribe to the channel right now before you go. We are going live for almost every game of the NFL season this year. So please make sure you guys stay subscribed so you guys can watch along with us with the Rams videos, the Rams live streams. We will try our best to keep improving those live streams. So make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss what we are going to bring to the table in the following weeks. Other than that, that's going to do it for me on today's episode of the Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua Giron, and I'm out.